All right. In today's ridiculous Bungie drama news story, we have Jason Schreier posting saying that top Bungie employee and former Marathon director Chris Barrett suddenly left the company, and the reason why is pretty dark and twisted. We're going to read his article here in just a moment. If you don't know who Christopher Barrett was, I believe he was the game director for Destiny 2, Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 for a long time, and then transitioned over to Marathon, and has since been released. So Barrett was fired after an HR investigation found that he had behaved inappropriately with at least 8 female employees, Bloomsburg has learned. Okay. We have top director at Bungie was fired after a misconduct investigation. Veteran developer who worked on hit video game franchises Halo and Destiny was directing the next major title, Marathon. So they were working on Marathon, and they're not anymore. We got Chris Barrett, one of the top executives at one of the video game industry's leading studios, was fired this spring after he was accused by several female employees of inappropriate behavior, according to people familiar with the matter. Starting at Bungie Incorporated in 1999, Barrett rose through the ranks as an artist and then director on the popular Halo and Destiny franchises, and served on Bungie's board before the company was bought by Sony for $3.6 billion in 2022. Until last summer, he was also the director of Marathon, which the studio is hoping will become its next big game franchise. But in late March, he suddenly left the company. And that was an interesting thing, why he left. It was a bit mysterious at the time. I didn't really know what was going on behind that, but yeah, behind the scenes, Barrett was terminated following an internal investigation in which at least 8 female employees raised complaints earlier this year that he had behaved inappropriately toward them. According to 8 people, including multiple women who reported Barrett, as well as other Bungie employees who were either involved in the investigation or spoke to the women involved. Got it. The people asked to not be named, discussing private information. The investigation found that Barrett called lower-level female employees attractive, asked them to play Truth or Dare, and made references to his wealth and power within the studio, suggesting that he could help advance their careers, according to 2 people familiar with the case. Yikes, that is awful. It sounds a lot like the Activision behavior that got that entire company canceled and everything that went along with the Activision thing. Obviously, that split happened just before Bungie had split with Activision, about a year before Activision got canceled, but I'm sure some of that culture was there. They had that cube crawling and all types of crazy things that was going on in the studios. I have no clue what the heck goes on in these game studios or why this is like somehow like commonplace, but should be crazy in these gaming studios. All right, the harassment is wild. In a statement to Bloomsburg News, Barrett said that throughout nearly 25 years at Bungie, I feel that I've always conducted myself with integrity and been respectful and supportive of my colleagues, many of whom I consider my closest friends. I never understood my communications to be unwanted, and I would have never thought they could possibly have made anyone feel uncomfortable. If anyone ever felt that way about their interaction with me, I am truly sorry. So there you have it. So he's saying that, he never felt like any of the advances were unwanted necessarily. But I suppose, trying to play Truth or Dare or bragging about all the money you make is a bit of an odd one. But, there are some oddballs at Bungie, right? Obviously, everyone's trying to criticize Pete and his crazy car collection and him constantly inviting people over to check out all of his new cars. So I definitely think there's some weird tensions at Bungie currently. And there's almost like a removing of the old guard, like the old Bungie that's been around there for 20 plus years, kind of getting replaced by various new actors. So we got Sony Interactive Entertainment, Bungie's parent company, would not comment on Barrett's case specifically, but a spokesperson said the company takes all complaints of misconduct very seriously. It is our policy and practice to investigate every complaint promptly and take action based on the findings of our investigation. So no comment from Sony. Nothing particularly incriminating per se, it's just bad behavior. Over the last 2 decades, the video game industry has faced a reckoning over its reputation as a boys' club, as it has grown into a $200 billion behemoth. Along the way, several top companies, including Riot Games, Ubisoft, and Activision Blizzard, all faced legal action and managerial shakeups following allegations of misbehavior by some of their staff. Yes, exactly. This is what I'm talking about. this is like, as I was saying, I was just referencing Activision, but it's happened everywhere, right? Ubisoft, Activision paid $55 million last year to settle a lawsuit brought by California that accused Call of Duty maker of harboring a frat boy culture. Yes, a frat boy culture inside Activision. That was what it was, and they had to pay $55 million for it. In 2021, Riot Games paid $100 million to settle a class action gender discrimination lawsuit. Wow. Next, we have Bungie, founded in 1991, also dealt with these growing pains. In 2021, the gaming site IGN reported that Bungie employees said their human resources department was unwilling to respond to complaints about misbehavior in the studio. In the Barrett case, Bungie and Sony took action to remove one of the studio's most tenured employees following the complaints, a sign that the video game industry may be evolving, which is really crazy to think about, because I've been covering content for Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 and Bungie, and as long as I've known, some of the biggest names have been, you got Christopher Barrett, you've got Luke Smith, who's now also gone, you've got Mark Noseworthy, right? You got Deej, who's now left, you've got and then Pete Parsons, who's the only one that I can think of. These are literally some of the big head honchos at Bungie, some of the guys that are at least seemingly running the show in terms of public perception. There may be other people behind the scenes doing various different things, but they seem to be the most public ones out there. Obviously, you also have Joe Blackburn, who's leaving as well for other reasons. Next, we have stories shared with Bloomberg. News from the women who are involved or those who are familiar with the case all followed similar patterns. Barrett would befriend women at the studio in various departments and then send them a barrage of text messages that blurred the lines between professional and personal. In interviews, multiple women who reported Barrett said the advances were unwanted and that they felt uncomfortable because Barrett was significantly more powerful than they were at the company. Yikes, a bit of a power dynamic issue with that. We got text reviewed by Bloomberg News, included flirtatious messages from Barrett and requests to hang out with the women involved. Bloomberg News is not sharing specific details to avoid potentially identifying the women who reported Barrett to human resources. And then we have Bungie employees weren't told the circumstances behind Barrett's departure. Members of his marathon team were informed earlier this year by management that he was on a sabbatical, according to the people familiar. Some later discovered that his company account had been disabled. So Bungie is keeping it under wraps in regards to what had happened, and probably for legal purposes, I imagine. So quite the crazy story there. I did not realize that that was part of the reason why he's left as the lead for Marathon. So definitely a big shakeup within Bungie, again, on top of everything else, with everything like we just had Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy also leaving. And so yeah, it's a wild time, dark time over there. Hopefully some of the new management that comes into Bungie can put this together and get things heading in a much better direction, because this is definitely bad to see. It's not a good look for Marathon, which hasn't even come out yet. We already have all this craziness going on with this game, so much drama involved. So I only imagine what's going to happen over time. Let me know your thoughts about this situation down in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all the news in Destiny 2. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.